Hello everyone, is Professor Sadiq Noor, and today in this video I'm gonna demonstrate to you how to maintain a database. How to maintaining a database. The objective of this video is you will learn about how to create a split form, how to add records using a form, how to search for a record, how to delete a record, how to filter records in a table, how to add lookup, multi-valued or calculated field to the table, how to use an action query to add, change, or delete records, how to specify validation rules, define values and default values and format, how to use the lookup field, including a total row in a data sheet, format the data sheet, include a multi-valued field in a query, how to create a relationship between tables, how to use a sub data sheet, explain how to handle data in a inconsistency. So the first thing is that we need to know is that database maintenance means modifying the data to keep it up to date by adding new record, changing the data for existing records, and deleting records. So updating can be include mass update or mass deletion, for example. So the data maintenance can also involve the need to restructure the database periodically. Restructuring can include adding a new field to the table, changing the characteristics of an existing fields, and removing existing fields. So let's start now. For this exercise, I will attach the starting file so that you could demonstrate the stuff with me. So it's gonna be the file, the data file will be attached in the description of this video. So you have to download and then you have to start the steps as I'm showing you through my video. So I will open Access, although you don't need to open Access if you already have downloaded the starting file. So in my case, I already have it here. I downloaded earlier. So now I will double click it. It's gonna open Access straight. Once you open the data file sc_sc_ 03-1, now we need to enable the security warning that we have here. So enable the content. Now we have to go to File, Save As. We have to save the database as. And then I will go to my folder to save this file. Access lecture. And then I will change the name from 03-1 to underscore clear net and then click save. Then again you have to enable it, the content. Now the first thing that we need is that to create a split form. The first stuff I'm gonna show you is how to create a split form. You can use the split form, which is a form that allow you to simultaneously view both the symbol form and the data view of the table or the data sheet view of the data. So the split form actually is going to show you two views, a form and the table in a data sheet view, right? So you can use either portion of the split form to add or update the records, right? So the thing is, why do we need to have a split form. You have the advantages of seeing a single record in a form while simultaneously viewing several records in a data sheet view. Because the problem with the form is that you can see only one record at the time, right? While in the table, you can see multiple records simultaneously, right? So to do that, we will go now. First of all, what we need is that we have to click on the load table, just click on it. Then we're gonna go to create. And then the third group under the ribbon and under the create tab is the fourth is forms. And then you will click the drop down and then you will see the third is split form. So click on it. And then the table, the form and the table is created automatically because you already selected the table in the left hand in the navigation pane. You already selected the loads table and then you went to create. You went to create and then you went to the form group under the create and then you went to split form. So the other thing is not new to you guys. This guy here in the top is your quick access toolbar. These are your tabs, right? This is the tabs. And then below the tab is your ribbons. The ribbon consists of groups and the groups has names, right? So what's inside the group actually is the command, right? And then this side here is your navigation pane. All your access object will be displayed in the left hand side. Whereas the right hand side is going to show you the object that you open. Now, the next thing is you can see here, I'm in the first record. The first record is been highlighted because I'm in the first record. I am in the layout view. Whenever you see this yellow bar around your text box, that means you are in a form layout. So that's the form appears in a layout view, right? So you can also see here, it says layout view. You see in the status bar where my flashing light indicate. And then if you go here, that's to view the form, right? If you want to view your form. And then if you want to go to the design, so the form has three views. Design, it has the layout view, and then it has the form view, right? The form view is where you have to add your record, right? And then you can see all the information. You can also go through your record when you are in the form layout. Now, if you go down here in the navigation bar here, so you kind of click on the play button. So let's say I will click it. It takes me to the next record. As soon as I see down here, it shows me which record I'm in now, the second one. That's the data sheet view, right? This area here is the data sheet view that you see in the table, right? So that's the benefit of having a data sheet in the bottom while you have in the top the form where you can enter. So that's your data sheet view that you learned in the previous videos, right? And this is the form here. So at the same time, we are looking at two things simultaneously, the form in the top and then the table data sheet view is in the bottom, right? As I told you earlier, you can only see one record in the form. But if you want to see all the other records in your table, then obviously you will have to have a split form where you have to see the only one record in the form, but in the bottom, you will see in the data sheet view, you will see all your record in the table. Right? Now, the next thing we want to do here is what if you want to view the form. So you will go here, or you can go here, form layout from the tab, and then you can click on view, right? And then if you click the down black arrow, you are in a layout view now. So you can say view. That's the view form now. You are viewing your form now. Then I can go through the records from the navigation, or I can tap it from the keyboard. All right. Now that's the empty where I can add a new record. Now, if I want to go back to the beginning, I will click this play button first. It took me back to the beginning, to the first record. All right. So the next thing, as you see, if we're gonna save the form, so I will hit the floppy disk in the top, right? I will hit the floppy disk in the top, and then it's gonna ask me, do you wanna save it? Yes, I do. So we're gonna say load split form and then click OK. So now the form is being created as loads split form, right? Now the next the next step is how to use a form to add records. So how to use the form to add a new record, right? So you could click on the play button with the orange. You see where my mouse is showing you, this one here. So you can click it, and then from there you could add the record you want, right? So if we click on record number 9, you see it shows us the record number 9. So we want to add record number 10. Now to do that, I will click the play with an orange in the right side. It says new blank record. So click on it and then go down and then type 7-8. Now what I'm doing is I'm entering a record, right? Then press the enter key, L-002, press the enter key. The date is 7-8 slash 2024. Press the enter key, and then the drop off is L dash 005. Press the enter key, is 715 is the rate, and then the mileage is 218. As you see, I'm entering the record using the form. The table also showing you what you are entering in the table. That's a nice, to have both views here. So after that, then I will press the enter key. Then now the next is the contents. The content is house plants, then press the enter key. The track is FL. Now the status needs. As I'm typing using the form, I can see what's going on in my table too. And also I can see the previous records. Then I can leave these empty. Then the shipper is S-002. All right. Now we will go to the quick access toolbar to save the record that we just added. Now we have 10 record. Now the next is to search for a record. In a database environment, searching means looking for records that satisfy some criterion. So we're gonna be looking for a load driven by Roman is an example of a searching. So what if you are gonna search for the load driven by Roman? So then we have to do a running a query is another way of searching, right? In a query access must those records that satisfy one or more record must be there to satisfy your searching criteria, right? Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna we're gonna the split form is already open, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to find, right? We are searching, right? So what we're gonna do to search for a record, so what we're gonna do is that the form is already in a view. So what if you have closed it, right? So you will go to your form, load the form split, you will do right click on it, and then you will click open, right? Or you can also select and then you can click, but the view form is not available. So the way you gonna do it is right click and then open, right? Now we have to click the driver field. You see that the driver here, right? We have to click on the driver like this, right? Now we have to go in the home tab and then we have to do our search. So do you see the find group? The find group, right? We will click on the magnifier. Then it says you wanna search what, right? So we wanna find what? We wanna find Roman, capital R, Roman, and then the current field, because we already selected, our focus is under the driver column, and then we said the whole field and all, and then search the field as formatted. Now we will click on find next. It took us straight to the driver Roman, as you see here, Roman. We find out the Roman driver here, and also at the same time it's showing me in the table data sheet view where this record Roman is located. You see, right? And it's highlighting in a blue color. Now the next step is the next step now is what if you want to update the content of a record. So before we do that, if you're done, and then if you want to find if there is something else with the name Roman, it says you don't have anything, then you have to hit cancel, right? Now, the next is to update the content of a record, right? So, record number 4, as you see here, what we want to do is in the status, we need to change it from the transit text to delivered, right? So you will go here, you will highlight it, or you can use your form. It's up to you, right? I can click here and then I can override it, right? It's up to you. So what I will do, either you want to do it from the data sheet view and just hit the backspace to delete and then type, or highlight and override by the new entry which is delivered, right? So let me show you if you want to do that, and look, pay attention to the form status form. So I'm here now in the data sheet view, and then I will say delivered. Now press the enter key. As you see now, it changed to delivered, right? It changed to delivered. Or I can also change it from here, right? It's up to you, whatever is easy for you. Now you can tap it to see, or you can press the enter key, right? To move around the records. Now the next is to delete a record. When a record are no longer needed, you should delete them, right? So why do we need to delete the farm the refrigeration unit for this load failed running the milk, so the record can be deleted, right? So you can delete any records that are no longer needed. So to do that, what we need to do is we will go to the record number 8. You see here? When I highlight it from the row indicator, you see the row here, the black arrow indicated to the right. Click on it, the whole row is gonna be selected. And then you can use the delete from your keyboard to delete it, right? Or I can go to the records group and then I can say delete, right? So when you select it, now the form also showing me the same record, right? So this one, we will get rid of it. Now, to get rid of it, after we selected it from the using the row indicator or the row selector in a data sheet view. Now, the next is I will hit the delete to delete the record, right? Or I can just hit delete from the ribbon here from the group. It's gonna say that you are about to delete one record. So I will say yes, the record is gone, right? Now we need to save from the floppy disk in the quick access toolbar. You need to hit the floppy to save it, and then we have to close the split form, which is the loads split form. Click the X. All right. Next is to filtering the records. You can use the find button in either datasheet view or form view to locate the record quickly that satisfies some criterion, right? However, using this approach shows all the record, not just the record or records that satisfy the criterion. To have only the records or record that satisfy the criterion appear, use a filter. Filter only is going to show you that record that you are looking at. But when you are doing the find, you can still see the other record beside the record that you found or you want to find, right? So filter, you can use the filter, right? There are 4 types of filter are available in Access. 4 kind, right? One is filter, filter, filter by, filter by selection, filter by selection, right? By selection. I will go through all these filter kind or type of functions, type of the filters. The second one we have is what we call common filters. Common, common filters. Right? Common filter. The third kind of filter in Access is what we call filter filter, filter by form. Filter by what? Form, right? Filter by form. And the last one we call advanced. That's actually is like the query. Advanced, 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 filter, advanced, filter, advanced, filter, slash sort. All right. So we have these four kinds of filters in Access. So we're gonna start with filter by selection. So first I will open the table loads, open in a data sheet view. All right. Once you open the table, all right. So the next thing is that, so let me see everything perfect. Now, to use filter by selection, you give access an example of the data you want by selecting the data within the table. So first you have to select what kind, and then access is gonna look for it. It's gonna filter it for you. That's why we call use filter by selection. First select what you want, and then access is gonna filter for you. You can then choose the option you want on the selection menu, right? So why do we need filter by selection? Filter by selection is appropriate for displaying these records and is the simplest type of filter. So filter by selection is an appropriate for displaying these records and is the simplest type of filter in Access. So let's start. Let's say that I want to find out the status, and then we want to find transit, right? So I selected transit. Once you did that, you will go to the home tab. Then the third group is sort and filter, and then you will see selection. You will click on it, and then you will choose the equal in transit or does not equal in transit, whatever you're asking the question, and contain in transit or does not contain in. So we want to find out the status which is equal in transit. So I will click on the first one. Done. In a few seconds, Access pull up only the record that you asked. I'm not able to see the other records. So now I can see only in transit status. So I have two records related to in transit. And then you will notice also I will have the filter icon in the right of that column. All right. Next is, so as I indicate to you, you also gonna see the icon indicate the record are what? Filtered. All right. Now, if you look down in your navigation bar, also you will see it says filtered. The data is filtered, and also it shows you you have one of two records. You see down in your navigation button. All right. Now, what if you done with it? You have shown your boss about the status he asked for in transit. Now you wanna finish up the the filter and you want to see the rest of the records, then you will go back to the sort and filter, and you see here the toggle filter is like gray. That means it's active now. So you will click on it to remove the filter. You see? And then I don't see also the status icon that says filtered. And then if you look down here in your navigation bar, it says unfiltered, right? So if you want, the KillerNet wants to once again view all the records. So if you want to view all the records, what you're gonna do is you will have to hit the toggle filter. Next is, so the next is also you gonna do filter to clear the filter, right? So you can also go to advanced here, and then you gonna say clear all filter, right? So under the advanced button, you can click here, clear or filter, right? You can also do that. Now, if you look here down, I don't see anything says unfiltered or filtered. It says no filter because we clean it. We cleaned, we cleared all the filters in the load table, right? Now, to use a common filter, the next one. Suppose that you have determined you want to look at locations whose city begins with the letter B. In the previous filtered, you have to point to only one, like in transit, delivered, build status, need carrier. The only you can pick that kind of record. You can filter only the selection that you made. But what if you wanna filter all the record of the cities that begins with the letter B? So in this case, filter by selection will not be the appropriate. None of the option within filter by selection will support this type of criterion. You can filter individual field by clicking the arrow to the right of the field name and using one of the common filter that available for the field, right? So access include a collection of filter that perform common filtering tasks. You can modify a common filter by customizing it for the specific field, right? Now, for example, let's go to the city. Okay. So let's go to so let's open the carrier, right? Or the locations. So I open the location table. So I can close the previous one. You can click the X to close the tab of the table. Save what you did. Now we are in the table locations, right? Now we will click on the column. You see my arrow become a down black arrow. And then you can click the down black arrow in the right of the city column. And then you have all the check boxes to select or deselect all the values. You can choose anything from here and the one you don't want, right? Now we will go to filter, text filters, and then we will click begin with, and then you're gonna type begin with what? Begin with the letter B, right? And then we will click OK. It's done. You got the record that begins with B, right? And then you have the filter icon in the right of the city. Now, once you're done and you want to see all the other record, you want to view all the other record in the location table, you will have to click the toggle filter to remove it, right? And this is the table name here in this tab. And then if you look down in your navigation button, you see it says filtered. And only I have got two records only. All right. Now you can remove it. Click on the toggle, right? Or you can go to the advanced clear all filter. You can do so. So I will click the toggle and it's now showing me all the record inside the table locations, right? Now, the next thing we need to do is, let's say we want to get the cities that they end with the letter E, right? With the letter E or S, let's say S. So I will select the column again just to show you. Then you will go here you will click the black down arrow. Then you will go to text filters and then I will say ends with S. Now click OK. Did that satisfy your condition, your criterion? All the cities that ends with S, as you see. All right. So that your record is being filtered. I have 4 records that satisfy your criterion, your condition. All right. I hope that you learn about how to use the common filter. All right. Now the next one is to use filter by form. The next one is filter by form. So we are getting to the third one now, the third kind of filter in Access. So first I need to view all the records. So click on the toggle filter. All right. Now it says unfilter, right? If you click it, it's gonna filter it again. See? If you don't want it, I will say unfilter. So you can also select this button, right? But if you wanna delete or you wanna get rid of any filters in your database or in the location table, you will go to advanced and pay attention to this guy here. All right, it says unfiltered now. So if I say clear all filters, now I don't see anything. Now I cannot go back now. All right. So filter by form. Filter by selection and common filter method you just use are quick and easy way to filter the value in a single field. For filters that involve multiple fields, now what if you wanna filter the record using multiple columns, multiple field? You cannot use the previous two, filter by selection or the common filter. However, these methods are not appropriate, so you will use filter by form. Filter by form allow you to filter based on multiple field or column and criteria, right? For example, you could say, I want to do filter by form, which will allow you to find only those loads using the container track where the mileage is greater than 500 miles. So you are checking two conditions to find out the record, right? So then the best way to do it is going to be filter by form. So the filter by form is gonna restrict that record that will appear on your results, right? So to do that, we will go to, still we have to change the table. So can we close the location table, save the changes? Now let's open the lower table, double click it. Now we need to go to the filter and sort group under the ribbon, and then under the tab home, and then we will go to advanced, and then you will select filter by form. So click on it. Now I don't have anything. And then I have this drop down, the drop down. So you can choose multiple column condition that you want to ask question about it, right? So under the mileage, I will go to the mileage here. I will, these are all the stuff. So you're gonna go here and say greater 500 is the mileage I'm looking at. And then the track the track is CN. So two conditions simultaneously you are checking now. So after you did that, now the next thing we need is that we need to run the filter. So we're gonna see if we have any record which has the mileage greater 500 and the track is CN. So now this time you will click the toggle filter button or icon to execute the filter. Now click on it. I have only one record that satisfies your condition. As you see here, the mileage has the filter icon and also the track. All right. So this is what we call filter by form, right? Now, if you want to view all the other record in the table loads, you will click the toggle filter again. All right. Now the fourth and the last kind of filter in Access. In some cases, your criteria will be too complex even for filter by form. You might decide you want to include any load transported by container truck whose mileage is greater than 500. Additionally, you might want to include any load with a mileage lower than 200, no matter which truck type is used, right? You might want to have the results sorted by drop-off location also. You also want to sort it. So that's why then all the three previous filters is not gonna work here. We have to use the advanced filter slash sort. Now to do that, what we need to do is that we're gonna go back to the advanced, and then you will click on advanced and filter, right? When you click this, it's gonna open the query design, right? And then we will change, you gonna delete those, and then you're gonna add the one you want. So delete, select the black down arrow, and then delete from your keyboard. Now let's add the field like the way we did for the query in my previous video, creating queries in database. Now from here, we are looking for the drop-off location, so double click it. We are looking for the track type, double click it. And then we also looking for the mileage. Now, what we want to do is that the drop-off sort ascending wise. So click ascending in the row that says sort and below the drop-off location column and field. Now, which track under the criteria you're gonna say CN. CN is the truck type. Okay. Then in the mileage, you will say greater. That's where I'm putting my criteria now for the mileage field. So greater 500 or less than 200, right? So greater 200 under the criteria row, and then you will put the less than 200 underneath the mileage, but under the or row, right? After that, now we need to run it to execute it. So we will click the toggle filter again. And now this should satisfy what you asked for. The drop off was sorted. You see the icon here, like a sold. Now this is the filtered according to what you said, the mileage greater 500 and less than 200. So I have one greater 500, the other are less than. And then you said the track, because you put two condition here. You said you want the CN or you want something less than 200. So the one which is less than 200, the mileage, they have a different kinds of truck. They have RF and FL. All right. So that ends my filter lecture in Access. All right. So I hope you learn all the four kinds of filter in Access. Now, to display or view all the other record after the filter, you will click the toggle filter again. The button that says toggle filter. Click on it. Next is changing the database structure now, right? When you initially create a database, you define its structure, right? That is, you assign names and data types to all the fields. In many cases, the structure you first define will not continue to be appropriate as you use the database. Perhaps a field currently in the table is no longer necessary if no one ever used a particular field, right? It is not needed in the table because it is occupying the space and serving no useful purpose. You should remove it from the table. You will also need to delete the field from any forms, report, or queries that include it. More commonly, an organization will find that it needs to add data that was not anticipated at the time the database was first designed. The organization own requirements may have changed. In addition, outside the regulations that the organization must satisfy might change as well. Either case requires an addition of field to the existing table, right? So in this case, we have datasheet and datasheet view. You can change the field type properties and the primary key of any table that you felt that, I need to change now the primary key or the property, or I want to change the size of any of the field, right? And then you can also change the data type. Then you can also change the field properties in a data sheet view, right? You can go to the name and the caption that we learned in my first video about creating objects using a database, right? You can also delete the field in a data sheet view, right? Now, the next step is to change the number field size in a design view. So what we need to do, this is our filter, so we will close it. We will close this one, save the changes. Now we will right click on the loads to go to the design view of the table, and then click design view. So we are in the design view of the table loads, right? So click on the mileage, the column or the field name mileage, click on it, or you kind select like this, right? From the row indicator. And then it says long integer, right? And then auto number, right? And then if you want to change, you will click here, and then you have the drop down here. So we have single, double, replication ID, decimal, and so on, right? So what we want to do in this case, we want, instead of being long, we will change it to integer. So click on integer, right, for the mileage, integer. And then the next thing we need to do is that we will go to the format. Under the format, also I have a drop down. Click the drop down in all the way to the right of the format. And then we will find this is the format box, right? And then we will find fixed. We want to fix the number. Fixed. The format is what? Fixed, all right? And then you will see this arrow here. If you click on it, we have two options. Update the format everywhere mileage is used, or help on propagating the field properties. So in this case, it's up to you if you want to choose option to propagate the changes, or you want to update the format everywhere mileage is used. That's a new one in Office and Access 2021. All right. So what we're gonna do in this case, we're gonna say update, right? So if you click on, it's gonna open the update like this, all right? And then it says that you have used in load split form. So the previous lesson I was showing you about how to create a split form, that's where you have used somehow the mileage that will also be changed, right? And then you will say yes. Now the next is how many decimal place you want for the mileage. So go all the way to the right, and then we want 0 decimal place. All right. And then the next thing is you have to click the save from the quick access toolbar, the floppy. And then you gonna view your table. Click the view. You have to click the table design tab and then view. Right? So we change the mileage. Instead of being long, now is integer without any decimal place. All right. So the next is to add a new field. We need to add a new field under the loads table. All right. So to do that, let's go to the table load. So first I will close the data sheet view of the table. I will do right click, design. All right. So we wanna do after the loads, after the load nodes, you will go down in the empty cell of the field name, and then you're gonna type a new column name field agent, agent, and then you will press the enter key, and then the data type, this time of the agent, we will click the drop down, and then we're gonna go to create a lookup field. A lookup field allows the user to select from a list of values when updating the content of the field, guys, right? So the following step, I will show you how the agent field is going to use the lookup field. So the agent field has only three possible values, making lookup field is an appropriate data type for this field. It has only three options, right? For example, if you have a gender, a column gender, so you will have two options, male or female, right? Or what if you have a status, and then you can say married, divorce, widow, unmarried, or bachelor, something like that, right? So then instead of making the user to type those stuff, we kind of ask them to choose from the drop down, right? From the choice box. So let's go to lookup wizard. When you are in the lookup wizard, I will choose the second option. You have two options. We will go with the second one. I will type in the values that I want, right? Then hit next. Then I will type now the entries here in this column, right? So I have one column. If you want two column, then you're gonna say two column, and then click here. It's gonna add the two column, right? So if you want only one, then click here again. You will have only one column. So the first one is Mary, the agent. The next one, click, and then Ariel, and then the third one is Bex, and then hit for me next. Now this one shows here what says what label will you like for your lookup field. We will leave it as agent, right? And then be sure that this one here where it says allow multiple values, this one be sure not to be checked, right? So just click finish. So now the agent data type has a lookup field now, right? So click the floppy from the quick to save the design of the table, whatever changes you did to the load, and then close it, right? Now to add a multi-valued field. Normally a field contain only a single value. In Access, it is possible to have multi-valued fields. That is a field that can contain more than one value, right? So the KillerNet wants to use such a field to store load, pickup, and drop off location. Optionally, a shipper needs a truck to pick up the items at two different locations or deliver to a multiple location. Allowing multiple locations for pickup or drop off will provide more flexibility in a record keeping that will more accurately represent the reality of a truck's trip. Additionally, ClearNet will like to pull these available values from the location ID field in the location table. This way, the lookup field list in the load table will not need to be manually updated as a new location are loaded to the database, right? So to do that, we need to open the load table in a design view. So right click, design view. Now in the design view, then what we need to do is we have to go to the pickup location, right? So click the data type of the pickup location, and then let's go down here and then go all the way to the lookup wizard. and then make sure that you said, I want the lookup field to get the value from another table or a query. It's a wizard, so click next. When you hit the next, then be sure that the location table is selected because that's where um, which table or query should provide the value for your lookup. So the value is gonna be coming from the table locations, right? And then it's a table, and then hit next or click next. Then from here you wanna choose the location ID and then click next. Then here is if you wanna sort, so we will not configure the sort order for lookup value. So click next. Now the next one is, so what we did was is that we did not configure the sort order for the lookup value. So the next button will display the lookup wizard screen. You will not change the column width. So we don't need to change anything in here. So just you will say next. Then ensure that the pickup location is entered as the label for the lookup field. So is it pickup location? Perfect. Now click the arrow, click the box that says allow multiple value. Be sure that you choose these allow multiple box to allow the user to enter multiple values. Then click finish. Then you will get like a warning. You will see a warning saying that you must save the table to create. You will say yes, click the yes button, and then you will click yes again. Now, after this, we will have to do the same thing for the drop off, right? The drop off location, right? So we will go here and then we're gonna click on the drop off location and then we will go to the wizard. We will change the data type. Obviously, you will click the data type of the drop off location and then you will click the lookup and then I want to look up the field to get the value from another table. So next, then you will click the locations table, right? So once we did that, then next, then you will choose the location. So we need to click on location ID and then we have to say next, no need to sort, next, next, the drop off, and then be sure that you click on allow multiple values, right? And then click finish. Yes, then yes. Now let's switch to the datasheet view. So the datasheet view is here. If you click down here, datasheet view, right? In the datasheet view, the pickup and the drop field contain the same data they had before. So if you go here, you see, and the drop off, that's the drop down, that's the lookup wizard. So the same data they had before. However, you can now you now can also add more location IDs to the existing field. So now I can choose as many I want, right? So click the pickup for the load one pickup. That's the pickup here, the drop down. Now, and then we can click as what we need. If you want, the currently is L002 is selected. Later in this measure, we will configure multiple value for some pickup and drop off location. For now, we cannot just cancel, right? We will leave it as it is, but you can add as many you want. Now let's close the table from the X. Now the next is to add calculated field. As you learned in my previous video, a field that can be computed from the other field is called a calculated field or a computed field. You can create a calculated field in a query. In Access 2019 and later versions, it is also possible to include the calculated field in a table. In the previous Access, we never had it, but in Access 2019 and the later versions, it is possible to include the calculator field in a table now design. User will not be able to update this field. Why? Access will automatically perform the necessary calculation and display the current value whenever you display or use this field in any way. All right. So let's do that. Let's go to the payments table, select, and then do right click on it, design view. Then once we open the design, then we have to right click the carrier payment and do right click, and then we will insert a new row. You can either do right click and insert a row, or you can insert a row from here too, from the ribbon, right? Because we want to put it in the middle above the carrier payment status. And then we will call these carrier, click in the field name and the type carrier space payment as the field name, and then you can tap it, you can press the enter key, and then in the data type now you will click the drop down, and then you will have to go to calculated. Click on the calculated field data type, calculated. Once you click the calculated, it's gonna open the expression builder dialog box, right? And then what we need here is the expression element, right? And the payment table is in the top. Then you have the function that you want to use. If you click the plus sign here, you will have all the built-in function in Access, right? And then also you have, if you want to display operators and if you want to display constants, these are the to display the function that you want to use, right? And then in the middle is the field from the payment table. These are the columns available or the fields from the payment table, right? So we will select the commission agent is already been selected, right? Then also we will select the broker fees field and the rate confirmation field, right? So to do that, first we will double click to add the column or the field that we want to sum up or multiply, divide. So from the expression category box, the middle box, we will double click the rate confirmation, double click it. Then you will have to press minus from the keyboard. Then we need the agent commission, double click it. It's very easy. Then minus again. And then we are looking for the brokerage fees, the brokerage fees. Double click it. And then we will click OK. So we put the formula and then we have to click OK. Now the carrier payment will automatically calculate whatever the brokerage fees is, whatever the agent commission, and the rate confirmation. All these three, once you put values in it, automatically the carrier payment will give you the total. All the is gonna give you whatever the carrier payment is gonna be. All right. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to change the caption of the carrier payment. So as still we are in the data type, or you cannot just select the carrier payment field, and then you have to go to your field properties. That's the field properties here, and then go to the caption, and then we're gonna say capital C underscore payment. We're gonna say PYMT. That's like the caption. I changed it from carrier payment to C underscore PYMT. All right. Then click the save from the quick access toolbar, the floppy in the quick access toolbar to save the changes. Right. Now close it, open the payment table, and then you will see automatically whatever the rate commission was minus the agent commission minus the brokerage fee, and then the total left is 470. All right. And also the caption has changed to C underscore payment, and this field minus this field, the commission of the agent and the brokerage fee were minus, and then I received the final payment is carrier payment is 470. All right. Next, the next now we're gonna do is what we call mass changes. Mass changes. In some cases, rather than making individual changes to the records, you will you will want to make mass changes. That is, you will want to add, change, or delete many records in a single operation. You can do this with the action queries. Unlike select queries, which simply present a data in a specific ways, an action query adds, delete, or changes the data in a table. An update query allows you to make the same changes to all the records satisfying some criterion. If you omit the criterion, you will make the same changes to all the record in the table. So a delete query allows you to delete all the records satisfying some criterion or condition. You can add the result of a query to an existing table by using the append query. You also can add the query result to a new table by using make a table query, right? So in this case, we're gonna be using an update query. So the new agent field is a blank on every record in the load table, right? One approach is to enter the information for the field will be to stop through the entire table, assigning each record its appropriate value, right? If most of the load were arranged by the same agent, it will be more convenient to use an update query to assign a single value to all the accounts and then update all the agent name for those loads organized by different agent. Now an update query makes the same changes to all the records satisfying the criterion, right? So let's do that. What we're gonna do, I will close this table from the datasheet view, save the changes. Now we're gonna go to create query design, and then we're gonna add the table loads. Once you add the table loads, you can stretch it to see what the fields you have. Then if you want, you can close the add table. Now we need the agent. So double click the agent. And then we want to update all the agent, that is a Mary. All the agent who are a Mary, right? So simultaneously all the agent value is gonna change to what? A Mary. So type under the criteria. So before we do that, you will go to the query type and then you will click update. Now it says update to. What you want to update the agent to? So we want to update this to a Mary. Type the name, right? So a Mary is the agent name, right? So sometime if you want all the agent to have the same name, a Mary, in your table, if you have 1,000 record and you want all the agent is the same Ameri, then I can use update and all the 100 or 200 or 3,000 records regarding the agent will be updated automatically, right? But the problem is sometimes if you want to be selective, you want to use multiple values instead of only one. This is very convenient now. All the agents will change to Ameri because you said update to without putting the criteria which one, right? So once you have done that, then you will have to run the query like the same way we did in the previous video. So run. You are about to update 9 rows. You will say yes, right? So nothing is going to show you here until you have to open the table and you can look at it, right? So in this case, now what we're going to do is we will once you said yes, now we gonna leave the query open for now, and then we can go to the table loads, double click it, and let's see what the agent is being changed to. As you see, the agent name simultaneously changed to Ameri, right? But if you want to be specific, you want a specific one to be a Mary and the other one should be something else, then yeah, we cannot do that. You can make them a different, right? So, for example, let me show you. So I will say the SO2 is the one that, and the one, all the one has to be whatever the other one was, right? So let's see. I will go here, clear all. Now I will go back to the design of the query. I will hit the view. Sorry, I will close the table. I'm back to the query. So if you said you want to change the agent to the other one, so the other one that we did was Arial, right? So just to show you. So we're gonna say update to Arial. Which one? Now we will say uh, the carrier. So let me check which one I will be changing. I want to see which one I need. So you're going to understand what's going on in here, right? Because you have to be sure that you change that specific one. Otherwise, it's going to change the whole thing, right? So we're going to say, I'm looking at which one I need to change so you could understand what's going on. So I can open the table, loads, and then I will change the carrier or the shipper. So I will change the shipper S001. So I will change the shipper S-001. So double click the shipper and then under the criteria, you will type S-003 or 001. All right. So what we are saying here is that I need to change the agent to Arial, but which one? Not the whole agent has to be Arial. No, specific one. I want to change the shipper who is S001, right? So let me show you what was in the table previously. See, it was Emery, all Emery, right? So I will close it. Now I will run it. So go to the query design, run the query. It said there are about two update rows. So say yes. Now we can go to the table, loads, open in a datasheet view, and then check it out. See what you did, agent area, Arial, and then you had another one that you change it from Emery to Arial. See? So that's the beauty of using an update query. All right. So I will change it back to Emery. Just here I have given you another example. So I will go back and I will delete this. And then I will go to update. And then we want to update it to Emery. Right? And then you be sure that you click on the tab query design and then click on run. It said no nine rows will be updated. So click yes. Now you can close this. If you want, you can save it. And I can call this update query. That is the one that update query. Loads is the table name. So click OK. All right. So you see here now, this is your update query loads. Now, if I open the load table now, all the agents should turn to Emery simultaneously. See here. So you can change the whole column to whatever value you want, or you can be specific. All right. So the next thing we have that I'm gonna demonstrate to you after the update is validation rule. You now have created, loaded, queried, and updated the database, right? Nothing you have done so far, however, restricts user to entering only a valid data that is that the data that follows the rules established for data in the database. An example of such rule will be that the agent can only be a Mary, Arial, or Bika. To ensure that the entry of the valid data, you need to create validation rules or the rules that must follow when entering the data to the cell, to the column. When the database contains the validation rules, access prevents the user from entering a data that does not follow the rules. You can also specify a validation text, which is the message that appears if a user attempts to violate the validation rules, right? Validation rule can indicate a required field, a field in which the user must enter the data. Failing to enter the data into the required field will generate an error. So validation rules can also restrict the user entry to a certain range of values. For example, the value of the mileage must be between 0 and 3,000 mileage, right? If you try to put more than that, then there should be an error message, right? And then we have something called default value. So what if you want uh, the status or the state, the column state always should say Maryland by default, right? So if the person is not from Maryland, then he or she has to change the status of the state from Maryland to something else. But by default, you can have a value that Access will display on the screen in a particular field before the user begin adding a record, right? So now we're gonna do that. So the first thing is to change the field size. The field size property for a text represents the maximum number of characters a user can enter in the field. For example, the default value size for the postal code field in the location table was 255. But a user will never enter a postal code that's too long, right? Currently, the field is set to be 10 characters, which allows for 5 digit postal code, a hyphen, and a 4 root digit in that field, right? So to do that, let's close the table. Let's open the location, right click on it, design view, and then we're gonna go to the zip code. As you see, instead of having 255, we have limited it to 10, right? So you can change it. We want to change it. So we want to delete the 10 and we want to type 20. That will be the new field size. And then close it, save the changes, right? Now, the next is to specify a required field. To specify the required, to specify that field is to be required, change the value for the required property from no to yes, right? By default is no. But if you want to make a field to be required, like the user have to type, the user cannot leave that column empty. He or she have to enter, right? So user will not be able to leave the agent field blank when entering or editing a record. Whenever you're gonna edit or add or edit a record, you cannot leave the agent field blank or empty, right? So to do that, let's go to the loads and do right click on it, design view of the table. Now let's go to the agent, and then as you see that the agent, the required, let me show you, under the field properties, the required is not no, it's not necessary. If you leave the agent blank, it's gonna work, but the moment you said yes, then you cannot leave this column empty. It has to be something in it, then access will allow you to put the next record, right? So that is under the field properties, and we are in the design view of the table as you see here. All right. So I will go to the required. I will click the drop down all the way to the end and then click on or select yes. All right. Now, the next thing we want to do is to specify the range. Specifying a range, right, after the required field. The following step, I'm gonna show you how to specify that entries in the mileage field must be greater than 0 and less than 3001. To indicate this range, the criteria specifies that the mileage amount must be both greater 0 and less than equal 3000. Why we want to do that is combining these two criteria with the word and is logically equivalent to be between 0 and 3001. Right? So to do that, let's click, let's select the field mileage. Look in your field properties in the bottom, and then you will see validation rules and validation text. Right? So under the validation rules, you will say greater 0 and then and space less than equal 3000. All right. So greater 0 and less than equal 3000. And then I will indicate a message. That's your validation text, because without a message, how the user will know what he or she did wrong or what is the expectation, right? So you're gonna say must be greater than 0 and at most at most 3000. All right, 3000. Now let's specify the default value while we are in the design view of the load table. So by default, the agent, click on the agent field. By default, then every time the agent is gonna give us the value equal to a Mary. So if it's not a Mary, then you have to change it to a different uh, agent name, right? Now also at the same time, we will define what will be the rule, what the agent value should be in the validation rule. So we're gonna say equal Mary, right? Then space or equal Arial. These are the three values that you can take for the agent. Other than that, it should be an error message. Or equal Bex, right? Now we're gonna indicate a message also to the user to know what he or she did wrong here. What is the expectation? So must be a Mary, comma, space, Arial, or Bika. Bika. Right? Now we need to save the validation rule default values and the format that we changed. So you will click the floppy disk, which is the save floppy from the quick access toolbar. You will get the message that the data integrity, right? Data integrity rule has been changed. Existing data might not be valid for you. Just click on no. Click no. And then hit the save, right? Hit the save key again. Now close the table design and let's see now those validation rules, right? So let's open the table loads, right? So now we're gonna update the table that contain the validation rules. So the first thing, let's go to all the way to the agency. By default, the new blank row, you see the new one, the new row here, by default will always say I'm Mary. You see that? That's the default value. All right. And then we will look for the mileage that we put something there, if you remember, greater 0, less than 3,000, right? So let's check it out. And the required also we said here under the agent. Now let's go and then let's type here Christian, and then press the enter key. Must be Amera, area, Arial, or Pika. You see, that's the validation rules. Then I will go here and then I can find out. So I put wrong because it should be Pika. So it should be an A instead of an S, right? So you can choose anything from here, right? So Amera is gonna allow you. Now the next one that we did was, if you want to leave the stuff empty, suppose, and then I will press the enter key. Must be a Mary or this. You cannot leave it empty. You see? So if I take because, it will give me an error too. It works, right? So Arial will work. But if I put Sadiq, that's a problem. So then you need to write down what you said in the validation text. So click the drop down, Mary, right? Now, the next one, let's go here and let's put the mileage 5,000. Must be greater than 0 or at most 3,000, not 5,000. So your validation is working perfect. It works, right? So that was the validation rules. Now, making additional changes to the database to use a lookup field, right? Now, what we need to do, we have the default is a Mary, area, Arial, and Becca, right? So let's go to let's open the navigation load. The table loads in a data sheet view. So it's already in the data sheet view, right? So we need to click the field agent on the third ID3, the third record. So we need to select the third, this one here, for a radar. So click on the third record like this. And then we have to select aerial. All right. And then the next one, aerial. Then this one also is gonna be area. From the drop down you have to choose. Then here is it should be Bika. Okay, so when I created the lookup, I put because it should be Bika, and then a Mary and a Mary, right? So we change the values. So we click the area to change the value. So let's go and change the value of the load. Load. So let's see. So we changed it. Remember, 5 is Arial and load 6 is Arial. And number 9 is Bika. Bika, it should be Bika. I put Bikas, okay. Now to use a multi-valued lookup field. Using a multi-value lookup field is similar to using a regular lookup field. The difference is that when you display the list, the entries are all preceded by checkboxes. Having the checkboxes allow you to make multiple selection. You check all the entries that you want, right? So let's go to the load 2. That's the load 2, right? And then the drop off for load 1 is LO5 and LO6. You see, I check the other option. So multiple values you can select when you have created the lookup for multi-value. So click OK. Now I will stretch it to show you. So I have 2 values now. And then for 3, the drop off will be 04 and 05. Click OK. Now number 9, we're gonna change the number 9. We're gonna do the pickup location for load 9 is gonna be 9 and 10. Click OK. I will stretch it so you're gonna see. Now, so that's how you could choose the multi-valued pickup and drop off location. All right. So we did that. Perfect. As you see here, if we go here, we have 2 values for the pickup for load 9 and the drop off for load 2 and 3. Next is changing the appearance of your data sheet. To include the totals in a data sheet, so the following step I'm going to show you. First, to include an extra row called the total row in the data sheet for the payments table. Note that this is not the calculated field. So it is impossible to include totals and other statistics at the bottom of the data sheet in the total row. So that's not the calculated field that you created earlier. That's separate from that, right? So to do that, what I will do, I will go to the records. So for this one, let's close the table, save the changes. Now let's open the payment table. And then let's go to the records, the record group. under the home, and then you will see the contextual tabs here, right? And then be sure that you click on the total, right, to add a new row here that says the total, right? So to do that, we will click total. As you see, the total row is being added to the payment, right? And then if you want to find out what the commission total is, you will go here and you will say sum, average, count, maximum, minimum. These are your statistic functions. So click on the sum. Automatically a sum for me as $7,180. Next is how to remove the totals from the data sheet. If you no longer want the total to appear as part of the data sheet, you can remove the total row. So how to do it? Just I will go back to the home, and then while I'm in the data sheet view of the payment table, I will remove. As you see, the total is being selected in gray. Just click on it to take it off. All right. If you want, click it. If you don't want it, just deselect the total again, the total icon. Now the next is to change the grid line in a data sheet view. To change the grid line in a data sheet. Now, why do we need that? Is that you might prefer the appearance of the data sheet with only horizontal grid lines, right? So what we're gonna do now, while we are in the table payments, we will go all the way to the last group, text formatting, and then you will see I have this icon here that says grid line. So click the down black arrow. And then what if you want just a horizontal grid instead of saying all the grids in both? You said horizontal. Now only horizontal, right? So next, what if you want to change the color? You want to give colors and font in a data sheet. You can also modify the appearance of the data sheet by changing the colors and the font. The following step changes the alternate fill color and the color that appears on every other row in the data sheet. Having a row appear in an alternate color is an attractive way to visually separate the rows. Now, to do that, we have to click on this one here. You see the alternative row color, click on it. And then you can use any color you want. You want a standard color or you want dark blue color, right? So what we need is we're gonna select this, you see. Now you can go back, you're gonna say dark, you see, dark blue color, the font, right? Now we can go back, you can say automatic, I don't want any, then you can go back here and then you can say more color, and then you can choose any other color from the color palette, right? So you will click here and then you can choose the color you want, right? So you can also do this. You can click the down gray arrow here. It's gonna pull up this option here, right? And then it says data sheet formatting. You want the cell to be flat, or you want raised or sunken. You want the grid line show horizontal, and then the background color white, and then the alternative colors I need is orange, right? And then after that you can click OK. As you see, it changed the color, right? So it's up to you if you want to change the color to something blue color. Look, you can do like that, right? So you can change, or you can select the whole table, right? And then you could also change the font, whatever font you want. See, I can make it a little bit darker. All right. If you don't want, then the automatic, and then you can go back and change it the color you want. And then you can also click the launcher here for datasheet view. And then you can go here and select the orange, and then OK. So if you want the grid also to have a color, you can also give the grid line a color. So let's see if I can get something. You can see red. Then I click OK. Now look, the grid also has a red background. See, the border color is red, right? See? Now I show you how to close the data sheet without saving the file. So if you don't want to save this, I will click this, and then I will say no. I don't want the changes. But that's how you kind of format your data sheet view. Now the next is multi-value field in a query. To include multiple values on one row of a query. To include a multi-valued field in the result of a query, you need to place the field in a query design grid just like the any other field. Why do we need that? When you thread the multi-valued field like any other field, the result will list all the values for the multi-value field on a single row. So let me show you this. Let's go to create. Let's go to the query design. And this time we're gonna double click the load table to add it to the design of the query. And then we will add load ID, double click it to add in the grid. We need the pickup date. We are looking for the pickup location, double click it. And then we are looking for the drop off date, double click it. And then we are looking for the drop off location, right? Now, what you need to do is, once you have done this, now let's run the query. And you can see the multi values will be displayed also. See, let me see if I can stretch it. Now you see I got the information listed here. So I got these two guys for the drop off, and then we had these two guys for the pickup. All right. Now we need to save it. So I will click inside and then hit the floppy from the quick access toolbar. And then the name is MO3 Curie 01 and click OK. So that query has been added if you look in your navigation pane. Now next, to include multiple values on a multiple rows of a query. You might want to see the multiple pickup or drop-off location for a load on a separate row rather than on a single row. Why? Each row in the results will focus on one specific location. To do so, you need to use the value property of the pickup and the drop-off field by following the name of each field with a period and then the word. So let me show you how to do it. So I will go back to the design of this query. So we already have the load, pickup. Now, the pickup location, I will go to the drop down here and then I can pick the value. You see here it says pickup value instead of pickup location. Now the pickup location. Sorry, the pickup location value. So you can choose this one. And then the next one I will choose. The next one I will go and choose. So we choose the not the drop off. I need the pickup date and then sorry. So that will be the pickup. So I will go down here and change it to pickup location dot value. And then we have the drop off date and the location. Now let's run it. Let's run the query. Now I can see all the values separately. You see it? Right? So next, if you can, I will stretch this to see what was the column name. Load dot pickup location dot value. Now, if you want the drop off also, I will go here. I will change this the drop off location value. I'll run the query. So now I have all individual instead of being in one to show me two things the drop off location were. Now I have them all in a single. So to include multiple values on a multiple rows of a query. So let's save this one as because we were using the previous one. So we're gonna go to File, Save As, Save the object as, Save object as, and then I will delete the copy of, and then I will go here and change the 1 to 2 and click OK. So don't click save because it's gonna override the previous one. If you are using the same, query. Now we have something called referential integrity. When you have two related tables in a database, it is essential that the data in the common fields match. For example, there should not be a load in the loads table whose shipper ID is S-002 unless there is a record in the shipper table whose shipper ID is S-002. This restriction is enforced through the referential integrity, which is the property that ensures that the value in a foreign key must match the value of the another table's primary key. So a foreign key is a field in one table. So a foreign key is a field in one table whose values are required to match the primary key of the other table, right? So in the load table, the shipper ID field is a foreign key that must match the the primary key of the shipper table, right? That is, the shipper ID for any load must exist as a shipper ID currently in the shipper table. So a load whose shipper ID is L-009, for example, should not be stored in the table load table because no such shipper currently exists in the shipper table, right? In access to specify the referential integrity, you must explicitly define the relationship between the table by using the relationship button, right? The type of relationship between the two tables specified by the relationship command is referred as one-to-many relationship. This means that one record in the first table is related to or matches many records in the second table. But each record in the second table is related to only one record in the first table. Okay? Right? So in the Killer Net database, for example, one-to-many relationship exists between the shippers table and the load table. One shipper is associated with many loads, but each load is associated with only one shipper, right? So in general, the table containing the foreign key will be the money part of the relationship. So let's create and let's specify the referential integrity, right? So why do we need to specify referential integrity? This combination of configuration allows sufficient flexibility for updating the record as information changes, while not allowing the deletion of record in the shipper table. So to do that, let me close this query. Now let's go to the database tools. And then the third group you will see is relationship. And then you will click on the relationship, right? So click on the relationship. Now when you click the relationship, these are the table who are already what? Related to each other, right? So what we need to do, if you want, you can click the add table to add the table you want, right? So we already have the loads, right? The shipper, and then we wanna add the other table, right? The shipper and the load, all right? So what we wanna do, we will select the shipper, and then we will click add to the selected table, right? And then we will move this guy down, and then you see the shipper is a primary key, and then the load table, there should be a shipper here too, look, right? That's the foreign key. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna drag the primary key shipper ID over the shipper ID. So give me a second. I need to look at, yeah, the shipper in the load. So drag it over this. It's gonna open the edit relationship dialog box. So it said that the shippers has a shipper ID, whereas the loads has shipper, right? And then be sure to click on enforce referential integrity, and then be sure that cascade the update related field, right? So suppose that if you have a shipper ID 20 and the previous was 20 and now you want to update his ID to 200 and you had 1000 record about the shipper ID 20. So it's not wise to open the table and change all the two table and make it 100 the shipper ID. So we can, if you change the shipper ID from the shipper, all the associated record will also change in the shipper in the load table under the shipper. And the relationship is one to many. Now this one here is cascade the deleted record. That means if the shipper 20 is no more part of your database, then I can click from the shipper and every record associated in the other table, load or whatever, will be deleted simultaneously, right? So the book did not check this, so they don't want us to check this, but you can check it if you want to, and then hit create. Now this thick line is the relationship. And then you see now the relationship we have is one to many, the infinity, right? So money part of the relationship is this one is infinity and this one. So that means from the shipper I will have only one record, but one record will have many shipper IDs in the load table, right? So once you have done that, now we need to click the floppy again to save the relationship and then close it, right? Now to see the effect of the referential integrity, right? So what we want to do, let's say, let's open the load, right? And then in the load and the shipper, let's change the one of the shipper 2 to 8 just to show you. It says you cannot add or change a record because the related record is required in the table shipper. So the thing is that first you need to put the S-008 in the shipper table, then you can add S008 in the load table. So the foreign key will always satisfy the value in the other table. If you put a new record in the shipper in the load table, as I did now, I put the S-008, it will not allow you to do so. It will tell you go first to the shipper table and then add the S008, then that will take it, right? So that's the problem I have here. It's not gonna take it at all right? So I will say okay, and then I will change it back to what it was too, all right? Now let's close the load and let's open the master table, you can say. Let's open the shipper. Double click it. Now you have noticed here when you open the shipper, when your table is being related, you create the relationship, you will see the plus sign in the left of the shipper ID. That means this table has a relationship and it has a sub data sheet with it. So a sub data sheet is useful when you want to review or edit the data in the joined or related tables, right? So the good thing now is that instead of opening two tables to add the record, the good thing is that I will just expand or I will click the plus to add information to the load table. See? And the same time I can see two tables on the screen. That one is the master table, the shipper, and then the load is what you see, the sub data sheet. Now I can enter any information about the shipper ID as 001, which is the Sabbath flooring, right? If you want to collapse it, hit the negative, right? So it looks like your table is perfectly has a relationship with it, right? So if you don't see a plus on that, means you did not create the relationship between the shipper and the loads table. So if I go to S002, these are all the records in the load table associated to S-002. All right. Now, if you want to collapse it, hit the negative, and then we can close the shipper table. And the good thing is that you can go here and then you can add a new information on the spot, right? You can keep on typing any new record you want. Now, because obviously you cannot add in the first one because the first one, the shipper has only one, the relationship was one to many. So I can only enter one record in the shipper, but the load table will have many record about S-001. All right. So the next thing, to use the ascending button to sort the record. All right. So to do that, to sort ascending in a quick way, right? For example, we will do here, and then you can sort it, right? It's sort. You can also go to the sort and then you can say ascending or you can say descending. Look, right? You can also sort by using the sort button to the sort record. See, descending or ascending, right? If you want these to be sorted, you see 1, 2, 3, all right? So with that, that complete the chapter number 3, maintaining a database, and you need to practice. And also I will attach the starting file that you have to use with me to follow the way I did complete this database. So I will attach the link in the description for the file to download. And also you need to practice, and also be sure to subscribe to my channel, and you can also tell your friends, your family member about my channel, and like my channel so that I can create more productive videos for you guys. Thank you so much, and see you in my next coming videos about Microsoft Access. Thank you and have a nice day.